A very good evening to everyone participating in this conference, the International Conference on Biotechnology for Sustainable Agriculture, Environment and Health, in association with the Biotech Research Society India. This is the first time we are holding the conference in a hybrid mode, and I hope that everyone is doing well health-wise. So I'm here to present an initiative which we have taken in our campus. And I'll further explain to you this initiative, which is supported by the Department of Science and Technology under the Technology Development and Transfer Division. So this project is about production and functional assessment of biocommodity products using waste media from laboratories. And I'm Neelu Navani from the Microbial Diversity Research Center at Dr. D.Y. Patil Biotechnology and Bioinformatics Institute in Pune, India. So why are we considering laboratory waste management? Well, we all know that laboratory waste management is a big problem unless and until the waste is managed appropriately. Now, science laboratories are very different than what clinical laboratories, the waste which clinical laboratories produce or a healthcare organization produces. So this is termed under biomedical waste, for which Pollution Control Board already has things in place. They have a system in place, and there are vendors who are following the responsibilities and executing and are managing the biomedical waste. So we are definitely not looking at the biomedical waste management. What we are talking about is the waste which is generated in the science laboratories, in institutes, in colleges, or in certain industries, particularly the plant tissue culture industry, and so on and so forth. So it is essential to utilize this laboratory waste as a resource because it's produced in large quantities, and also it brings out disposal problems and is an environmental concern because ultimately it adds up to the pollution. So following the principle of reuse, reduce and recycle, what we have thought of is that the waste in the laboratory should be segregated at the laboratory itself. Color-coded segregations can be done. You can think of recovering the resources from this waste, and this eventually could lead to revenue generation. So we are particularly focusing on the agar waste which is generated in microbiology laboratories, in plant tissue culture laboratories, or in other similar laboratories where such practicals or such research is involved. Now, in our campus, other than this COVID period, because the students are not there, regularly, almost every month, 25 to 30 kgs of agar waste is generated. And we also have a sister concern, a plant biotechnology industry, which is called as Rise and Shine Biotech, and that produces almost more than 1000 kg a month. Now, disposal of this is actually a very good resource which is getting wasted. So me and my colleagues, we thought that why not come up with a solution to handle this waste, and why not make something useful out of it. So the second step is, of course, first step is the segregation, and the second step is the processing of this waste after appropriate decontamination. And finally, the last step involves value addition products from this waste. Let me now take you through the process very briefly. Now, as you can see over here, waste can be either biodegradable or non-biodegradable. If we were to talk about our laboratory and our campus on the whole, or a campus where there are 500, 600, or even 1000 students, it depends on the kind of laboratories they have. But on an average, biodegradable waste easily from a campus of 500 or 600 students can give you 50 to 60 kgs. And non-biodegradable waste could have almost 10 to 15 kgs in a month's time. Further, the waste can be classified into hazardous and non-hazardous waste. You also have certain special categories chemical waste, and then biological waste. Some waste is such that it's general waste and therefore it can be mixed with other waste. Some wastes you can simply drain in the disposal because they are not so harmful. Then there are glass or sharps, and then there are biohazard wastes. Biohazard waste, generally we leave it to the pollution control board because they have a better system to manage it. Whereas the ones which is not biohazardous, particularly the media, the laboratory media, those can be easily decontaminated in an autoclave, which is the general procedure that is followed. And post that, it is thrown away. Either it is dumped in the landfill or it is incinerated. So that depends on the local authorities, how it is the waste is being handled. So we are particularly focusing on this waste, which is the agar waste. And what we have done is we did a extensive training session with our ancillary staff. You can see that we have a majority of women in the ancillary staff, and they all were trained about the color coding. They all were trained in about segregation of waste, how they can segregate the metal waste, the glass waste, the biodegradable waste, and the non-biodegradable waste. So all this was explained to them. And here you can see it's a live example that they have started the waste segregation. The plastic waste is separated, the metal waste is separated, the paper waste is separated, and the biodegradable laboratory, particularly the media, agar media, after decontamination is separated here. Further, we have started the construction of agar recycling plant in our campus. And this plant will actually handle not only agar, but slowly we are planning to expand it to the waste which is also generated from the canteen or the hostel and the other facilities on campus. So at present, the construction has already begun, and this is the plan which we have. And this is the area where we would be setting up the instruments that are necessary for the recycling of this agar waste. So the first step in the process is the waste segregation, that is the lab media waste getting segregated. It has to be decontaminated by autoclaving. And then you can have the media waste, which can be treated with the microbial consortium, and it can give us biocompost. Another way is that we do a thermal treatment, that is pyrolysis, and which can give us biochar. And the third thing is that we are developing plastic-like material, which are of course biodegradable. We are converting it, the agar, into blended polymers to give what we call as agastic. So this is a state-of-the-art method of treatment. We are yet to file a patent on this, but we are already in the process of filing a patent. So as I said, that we are segregating the laboratory waste and we are treating it either with microbial consortium or with pyrolysis, or we are blending it with some additives after adequate extraction procedures. And this can be upscaled once it is successful at our level. It can be upscaled to a central level. In India, approximately 20 to 35 million metric tons is the waste. It's a very vast range, which I have mentioned over here because it's a gradual change which is happening. Like the current figures, the earlier the figures were 35, but with the pandemic, the amount of waste that is getting generated is less. So that has gone down. So that's why this kind of a figure. And what kind of value products can be actually obtained? So we are calling these value products, that is biocompost, we call as agaropost, biochar we are calling as agarochar, and the biodegradable plastic which we have developed, we call it as agastic. So the conversion of the lab waste into such commercially viable products will ensure environmental safety as well as sustainability. So The lab waste is segregated into non-biodegradable and biodegradable waste. Under biodegradable waste, if you have hazardous waste, that's separately classified. But the general waste which you can get from a lab is paper. And then if there are plant laboratories, you could get some plantlets, of course, cotton and culture media. So all these paper, cotton, plant, and the culture media, of course, can be all subjected to composting. And the culture media in particular, we are targeting 3 ways: composting, biochar, and bioplastic, as I already said. And the other non-biodegradable waste, glass, plastic, and hazardous waste, these are all outsourced to the third party for either recycling or for appropriate management. So what kind of products have we been able to get? So the first product which we have been able to get is the agar char. So here the autoclaved agar waste was mixed properly. It was pyrolyzed in a spray pyrolyzer, and we have tested this on 2 different temperatures with a retention time of 45 minutes. And you can see that this is the kind of product which we have obtained after the pyrolysis treatment at 250 degrees centigrade. And when we did the elemental analysis of this versus the DAP and the vermicompost, you can see that the composition of DAP, the elemental composition of DAP and vermicompost is significantly different than that of the biochar which we have obtained. And then you have certain other properties. The water absorption property is significantly good. The calorific value is less, which is of course not so significant right now, but it can be enhanced, and we are looking at how this can be done. And further, these are the different elemental analysis. We have also checked the pH of these samples and the electrical conductivity, the total dissolved solids, which you can see in this case. We have just compared it with certain references where you can see that the TDS in the case of fruits and bark was high, and in the case of biochar, of course, it is definitely very high. The ash content is almost the same as DAP and vermicompost, and the moisture is not as good as vermicompost. Water absorption is the highest, I would say. And vermicompost again has a very low calorific value, whereas the biochar calorific value matches with the calorific value of bean husk, tobacco waste, and also coconut shell. The other product which we have been able to get is the agaropost, that is the agar compost. So you can see over here that we decontaminate the culture media after the segregation is done, and then we begin the composting process. We mix this together with the kitchen waste, or independently, only the agar waste is used in composting. And this is the kind of biocompost which we get after 45 days of treatment. So we have subjected the garden waste, the cooked waste from the canteen, the uncooked waste from the canteen, the agar waste from the laboratory, and mixed all the waste together. And we have subjected these to composting. After 45 days of composting, we observed the change, and you can see that most of the waste is completely degraded, and we got a very fine mixture. And this fine mixture was, we did some analysis of this. As you can see, in the case of particularly agar and the mixed waste, the organic carbon content initially was low, but after composting it became high. The nitrogen was low, however, it remained low in post composting also, whereas the nitrate nitrogen, which was very low or at least not detectable, which became very high after composting. It became high significantly as compared to this. The potassium also became very high, which was initially low. So did the phosphate, which in the case of mixed waste increased from low to medium. and the moisture content was a little less, and the pH also decreased. And the mixed waste includes uncooked waste, the garden waste, as well as the agar waste. The third product which we have developed is the agar stick. So these are the steps which are followed. The first level is the decontamination of the agar waste. Then we perform a solvent extraction, and then we are blending the extracted material with additives and binders and microbial and plant polymers. So you can see that this is the decontamination of how does it look after decontamination, and then once the solvent extraction is done, this is how it looks. Post drying, this is the texture which it gets, and then we blend it with other co-polymers from plant and microbial origin, and also we use certain cross-linkers and binders. And you can actually get a large variety of different products when you change the composition of the copolymers or the binders. So here you can see this is a very thin material like plastic, and this is a little thick like rubber, and this is a gel-like flowing material, and this is a very hard gel again. So you can change the consistency and the texture of the material and prepare it as per your need. So these, when we checked the properties of agar stick, we could see that the water absorption was very high, 193%. The tensile strength was 6.23, and the elongation post-tensile strength was 58%. The ash content is around 7.4. Hardness is 65, and the moisture content is 14.6. It is soluble in water, and that's what makes it biodegradable. However, we are still working on the characterization of this particular polymer that is developed. I mean, we actually have an array of polymers which we have developed, and this is one of the polymers that was used subsequently for making different products. So those properties are only showcased over here. So you can see with this polymer, we could actually make artificial flowers like this. We have used these and gifted these to some resource people who have come to our institute. We also can make gift wrapping sheets or origami sheets. You can also make a throw bag, which can be used for getting some small stuff from the market or even for throwing garbage. Packaging material, which can replace thermocol, we have prepared. And we have also prepared room fresheners or mosquito and insect repellents using this particular agar stick polymer. So finally, the deliverables of this kind of a system would create a centralized system for waste management. It would also give us products as already enlisted. The process will be eco-friendly because it's more of the purpose of this whole exercise is to reuse the waste or to use it for a better purpose. And therefore, we cannot create another set of waste for handling this waste. So we want to manage the pollution which is caused, and the process, once it is more acceptable, it will become gradually sustainable and will lead to resource reutilization. So we did a SWOT analysis, a very general SWOT analysis. It's not something where we talk about the economics and the financials. What we are trying to showcase is that the strengths would be that this is a very novel process. And if we follow a well-managed segregation module, the process can definitely become sustainable. It can generate employment, it can generate revenue, it can also give us value-added products. However, there are certain limitations because you need to have manpower for segregation presently. The equipment is necessary for certain bulk processing, which involves investment, financial investment, and then a common platform or a centralized system is something which one could establish. And few of the threats, basically two are indicated over here, is that if there is some kind of a malfunctioning in the segregation, or if there is a waste which you don't expect has landed up into the process, then handling that would be a challenge or even a threat. So amongst the future prospects, we are trying to characterize the compost, the biochar, and the agar stick for their quality, their properties, and their yield. And we are trying to see how best we can utilize this resource. We also plan to develop smart systems for segregation of waste. We are going to test these value-added products for general commodity use. And further, we plan to expand, once it's successful, we plan to expand the central waste management on campus to other nearby institutes. We can provide the service to other nearby institutes. These are few of the references. And finally, I would like to acknowledge the contribution from industry collaborator under this project, that's Agro Innovations India Private Limited in Pune. My research team that includes a large number of students and also my collaborators, Dr. Viniti, Professor Pal, Mr. Ravi Kiran, Dr. Sarika, and all these are my students. And this project is funded by the Department of Science and Technology under the Technology Development and Transfer Division. I acknowledge the funding which we have received from them, and we have one of the mandates is to set up this particular plant and to set up a model for recycling of this waste in the country. I thank Malviya National Institute of Technology for inviting me for this conference, and I thank the organizing team, Dr. Vivekanand, Dr. Ashok Pandey, and the moderators of this session, Dr. Debashish and Dr. Arijit. I thank Biotech Research Society India. I thank my Vidyapeeth, Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapeeth, and the funding agency for the support. Thank you so much.